Hello everyone, Chef Eric here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe down below and give this video a like. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to decorate that very first cake. It's usually quite difficult for most people and I faced the challenge myself. And in this video, I'll walk you through step by step and make sure that first cake looks absolutely amazing. So let's get started. I'm first going to start by introducing all the equipment we're going to need for this recipe. And the first thing you're going to need is a serrated knife, or it is also called a bread knife. This is what we're going to use to slice the cake layers in half and also trim off the tops. Next, we're going to need a bench scraper to smooth out the sides. We're also going to need an offset spatula, a cranked offset spatula, to help us spread the filling and the whipped cream in between the layers. The crank layer is going to help us ensure we have an even layer. Last but not least, a straight palette knife to help us smooth out the outside of the cake. We're also going to need a turntable with spins to make decorating of a cake as simple as possible. We are going to be decorating this cake with some whipped cream. So in the bowl of your stand mixer with the whisk attachment, you want to add in 2 cups of whipping cream. I'm using non-dairy whipping cream. And you want to whip this on a really high speed for about 5 minutes, just until it's at soft peaks. Once at soft peaks, add in 2 tablespoons of icing sugar and whip until we have stiff peaks. On a turntable, place your cake board and a little bit of frosting at the bottom, and then you want to place on your first layer of cake. These cakes have already been trimmed and sliced in half. If you want to learn how to do that, go over to my Instagram and I have a video that shows you how to toast your cake layers. Put an even amount of cream on top of that first layer of cake, and you want to repeat the process over and over again. So place the next cake layer on top of that, add more cream, and just keep repeating that until you have fully assembled your cake. Here I'm using 8-inch pan. These are 8-inch cakes, and I've sliced each of them into 2 even pieces so that we can have a beautiful 4-layer cake. If you'd like to add any fillings to this cake, you would need to pipe a dam on the outside of the cake, and you can put any filling in the world, from jam to strawberries to custard to diplomat cream. You can add absolutely anything to your cake, and it's really customizable. We can now give the cake a crumb coat. The work of a crumb coat is to seal in the crumbs in the cake so that when we're giving the cake its final coat, it's not as crummy as possible. The crumb coat should be as crummy as possible at this stage, so apply a really thin layer of whipped cream all around the outside of the cake. After you've applied a really thin layer, you now want to smooth it out with a straight palette knife. That is what exactly you're going to need it for in this technique and when you're decorating a cake. Smooth it out really well, and you want to chill this in the fridge for an hour minimum, but if not, I personally like to do it overnight when I'm doing a big cake like this. The next morning or an hour later, we can now give the cake its final coating of frosting. So put some frosting on the top of the cake and gently smear the frosting down as you work your way all around the sides of the cake. If you need to whip up a bit more cream, you can go ahead and do so. For each cake, down in the description box below, I'll give you the perfect amount of cream you're going to need to ice such a cake. I didn't whip up enough, but eventually the cake worked out. Once you've given your cake a really nice smooth layer, you now want to pop this into the fridge for about 10 minutes. And to help the cake to get as smooth as possible, you dip a long palette knife into some hot water. The hot water is going to get rid of those air bubbles and anything that may make the cake not look as smooth as possible. This is just a trick from the professionals. Once you've given your cake a really nice smooth out, you want to pop this into the fridge for another 10 minutes while we work on our chocolate drip. And for the chocolate drip, you want to start out with 250-gram pieces of dark chocolate, and to this you're gonna add in some cream. I'll leave all the measurements down in the description box below. You want to microwave this for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then once it's out, let it sit for 5 minutes unbothered. Once it's sat for 5 minutes and the chocolate has started to melt, you now want to gently start stirring this. It's of course going to look very curdled and split and not fully incorporated, but you want to keep stirring until it's all fully incorporated. I have to look really glossy and smooth and really silky and nice, and it's going to be perfect to work with. Mine's a bit loose, so I let it sit at room temperature for 10 minutes. We can now give the cake its drip. So once it's done chilling, you always want to do a drip on a really cool cake. I'm using the spoon method here. You could use the spoon method, or you could use a piping tip, and so you want to put a little bit of ganache just at the lip, just at the edge of the cake. You want to make sure it's not too far, neither too close, otherwise the drip is going to go all the way down. Just add a little bit of the chocolate and then push it down, and with a little bit more ganache, and also with the spoon. You want to do this all around the cake as slowly as possible. Just take your time and just make sure you get really perfect looking drip cakes. Once you have your drip all around the sides of the cake, you now want to pour over that remaining ganache over the top of the cake. This is optional, but it makes the top of the cake look as uniform as possible. You now want to chill that in the fridge and let the ganache set so that we can start writing on the cake. Now for writing, I'm using a tiny piping tip with some white whipped cream frosting. And before you come for me in the comments, my handwriting on cakes is not the best, but I just have to work with what I have. So on this cake, I was writing congratulations on your confirmation. You need to have a little piece of paper with the writings and the spellings close to you so that you don't mess it up. Once you've written on your cake, you now want to take an open star tip. It is actually my favorite piping tip for decorating cakes. You can get it at probably Saving Home, and if you're in Nairobi, Top Serve. I'll leave links down in the description box below where you can get all of these equipment. Top it off with some fresh meringue and you're done. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for a brand new video.